Islam. Can you hear me? I can't tell. Can't hear myself. Islam. Let's check my phone. Islam. Alrighty. Let's make sure we can hear. Is my mic working here? Let's try something. Be a moment. Hopefully, let's get started. Just one more time. Alrighty. No, we're not going to do that again. Okay, so again, welcome to the Moorish Light Continues, where the revolution is a podcast. And of course, we will begin by saying the Moorish American prayer. Islam, Islam, Islam. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation, by night and by day, through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. And of course, I'd like to welcome you to another edition of the Moorish Light. Islam, 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 and welcome to another edition of the Moorish Light, where the revolution is a podcast. We begin by giving praises to Allah, the causeless cause and the rootless root from which all things have grown. We give honor to the last prophet in this dispensation, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, in the first, second, and third forms. I give honor to Grand Sheikh John Givenzeal, who built upon the foundation laid by our founder. And I give a special honor to my teacher, Grand Sheikh Richardson Dingle Eel, Prophet Noble Drew Ali III, for leading me to the prophet and educating me to the prophet, as well as to Timothy Dingle Eel, Prophet Noble Drew Ali hyphenated, modern day Moses and Aaron. And to understand that, you need to understand the journey of Moses and Aaron. Um, Honors to Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the great emancipator Abraham Lincoln. Honors to Supreme Grand Sheikh and Sheikhess Prather Eel, Supreme Grand Sheikhess Louise Dingle Eel, the noblest, Honorary Supreme Grand Sheikh Thorn Eel and his wife Sheikhess Thorn Eel, and our current Grand Sheikhess as well as National Grand Sheikhess Tiffany Jones Bay. Islam, and welcome to the Moorish Light, the Soul School, shining light, clearing up the confusion, and teaching the basic facts. Our objective is unity and manifesting the ultimate goal of the Moorish movement. Here's what we're not going to do. We are not going to dispute Charters, who is the Supreme Grand Sheikh. We are here to establish a basic foundation of the Moorish movement in love and understanding. Since this is The Moorish light is the only proper that we define light. Spiritually, light symbolizes knowledge, truth, divine presence, hope, guidance, and purity, representing awareness, the pathway from a spiritual darkness, ignorance, and sin towards enlightenment, goodness, and union with the divine, appearing across the cultures as Allah's creation and a wisdom or guiding force for humanity. It signifies wisdom, life, revelation, and the illumination of the spirit within. So, once again, we bring to you the Moorish Light, where the revolution is a podcast. And we will open our program as we usually do, reading from the Holy Quran of Mecca. Today we will be reading from Surah 2, ayats 40 through 43. If I have that correctly, let's make sure. Why is it not popping up the way that I have it? Let's see. Okay, so let's just go find it. So just bear with me while I go to that surah and ayat. I thought I already had it up, but obviously I did not. And we will find as we read the Holy Quran of Mecca and we read some of the things that were going on during the time of Prophet Muhammad, we find a lot of that is going on today and in this new era of time, in this new dispensation. People who are trying to supersede and act like they brought more science or they brought Moorishness, and they add little things. But anyway, it says, "O children of Israel, call to mind the special favor which I bestowed upon you and fulfilled your covenant with me as I fulfilled my covenant with you, and fear none but me." The appeal is made to Israel subjectively in terms of their own traditions. You claim to be a favored nation. Have you forgotten my favors? You claim a special covenant with me. I have fulfilled my part of the covenant by bringing you out of the land of bondage and giving you Canaan, the land flowing with milk and honey. How have you fulfilled your part of the covenant? Do you fear for your national existence? If you fear me, nothing else will matter. And so, as I read that, one of the things that comes to mind is that fearing the great God Allah. How do we fear the great God Allah? And I'm just going to go and read the next ayat so we can understand. Because I don't want to get ahead. It says, "And believe what I reveal, confirming the revelation which is with you. Be not the first to reject faith therein, nor sell my signs for a small price. Fear me and me alone. You received revelations before. Now comes one confirming it. Its first appeal should be to you. Are you to be the first to reject it? And reject it for what? Allah's signs are worth more than all your paltry considerations, and the standard of duty and righteousness is to be taken from Allah and not from priests and customs." So, Prophet Noble Drew Ali came on the scene. He came and he brought a revelation. Come all ye Asiatics of America and hear the truth about your nationality and birthrights. You are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians. That's part of the revelation. Now, the other part, there are other lessons. We have our Holy Quran, we have our Moorish literature, we have a history, and we're going to get into that in a minute. But we need to understand, some of you take out sacred symbols and you're printing them on stuff and you're selling them for profit. What about the respect? What about holding what the prophet has brought us as sacred and divine? I understand we want to we want to make money. But when you tap into Islam, Islam teaches man he has an unlimited capacity for progress. And the only reason you deal with our signs and symbols, you want to know why? Because you have not tapped into that unlimited capacity for progress. So you take what the prophet has and you either modify it or you do this, you enlarge it, you shrink it, or whatever it is that you do. Because you or we, let me not exclude myself, because we have not tapped into that unlimited capacity for progress. Being original, since we are the ones founders of civilization, it's some stuff that we haven't dealt with within ourselves that in studying more science will allow us to be that creative force. It says, and the footnote says, let me read the ayat again. And believe in what I reveal, confirming the revelation which is with you, and be not the first to reject faith therein, nor sell my signs for a small price. Fear me and me alone. You know, a lot of people look at me and that because I'm always talking about we don't need to be selling books. And I don't mean that in a disrespectful way. What I mean is, if you put all the information in the books, why do people need to come to the temple? They can assume that they know because you've put it out there. A lot of organizations survive because they hold what they have is sacred. They're not so willing to throw it out, throw their as the Jesus teaches, throw their pearls to swine, and then complain about misrepresentation. It goes on to say, and cover not truth with falsehood, nor conceal the truth when ye know what it is. So that means don't add your 2 cent worth in it. People are trying to attach aboriginal, indigenous. We're going to spell more MUUR as opposed to MOOR. Those are games people play. The truth does not change, nor does it pass away. So, can we stick to the truth? Can we respect the revelation? Can we do that? As a mother, I need us to do that. As a sister, as a member of the More Science Temple, I need us to respect what we have so others will also respect what we have. This is not an alternative to black. It does not come under the umbrella of black or African. It doesn't do that. It is uniquely its own, and it needs to be put forth to the world in its own uniqueness, which is a solution to the ills of humanity. And the biggest ill in this day and time is the Negro problem / mental slavery. So hopefully, that touched someone's spirit and soul and just help us to rethink how we're trying, because we're trying so hard to put more signs out there, but don't sell it. Don't cheat more signs. Don't cheat Prophet Noble Drew Ali because you just want the people to know. I will not say your intentions are bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying hold sacred what Allah has given you through Prophet Noble Drew Ali. We're going to have to go and reclaim our stuff because too many people claiming it louder than we are. But anyway, that's another story in itself. So our topic today is from temple to movement. That's our topic today. And I would like to begin that. We're going to read from our Holy Quran. Uh, and we're going to, I'm going to stop sharing this particular screen. And I'm going to go to the Holy Quran. Do I have it up? Oh. So let me see if I can get that up for us. told me in this computer, I tell you. Okay, I'm getting better at this. So, yeah, let me see if I can pull this up. Okay. So, give me a minute. And I'm going to show you an example of how we so busy doing what we do until we miss how people are now claiming our blessings. So we're going to go to chapter 47 and a second here. Close this. Give me 1 second here. And so now I'm going to go back into my studio and we're going to share chapter 47. Now, we have to understand there had to be an issue in order for the prophet to have to make the statement. And I'm going to start from verse 10. Hopefully, you can see this. Well, I'll start from 9. According to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanite nation from the holy land of Canaan. What your ancient forefathers were, you are today without doubt or contradiction. There is no one who is able to change man from the decent nature of his forefathers unless his powers extend beyond the great universal creator, Allah Himself. It says, these holy and divine laws from the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America. What does that look like? The uniting of the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America. And it goes on to say these laws are to be strictly preserved by members of all, not some, members of all the temples, not some, all the temples of the Moorish Science Temple of America, that they will learn to open their meetings and guide it according to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Every subordinate temple of the Grand Major Temple is to form under the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice to create their own laws and customs in conjunction with the laws of the Holy Prophet and the Grand Temple. I, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, was sent by the great God Allah to warn all Asiatics of America to repent from their sinful ways before the great and awful day that is sure to come. The time has come when every nation must worship under its own vine and fig tree, and every tongue must confess its own. Through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honored not the creed and principles of their forefathers. So, this is how you fall into slavery, by not honoring the creeds and principles of your forefathers. That is why the nationality of the Moors were taken from them in 1774, and the word Negro, black, and colored was given to the Asiatics of America who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the principles of their mother and father and straight after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing. Did you want to say something? Want to introduce yourself and say something? Okay. So it shouldn't look too different. Let me put it that way. We might have some different. It shouldn't look too different. And and the prophet, he's not saying that you're just going to do your own thing. He doesn't mean it that way. He says in conjunction with the laws. He says he is the founder of the Uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America. So the question we have to ask ourselves, what does that look like? What does that look like? And the one way we can find that out is, I'm going to have to stop sharing this. And the one way we can look at that is we use what the prophet bought, which is one of the other tools the prophet bought is the Moorish literature. And in the Moorish literature, you find out how to run a movement. You also find out the history, and you also find out how he progressively moved, because he said the Moorish Science Temple was founded in 1913. Then he talks about 1925. So let me just go to it. And For some reason, okay, I'm not going to stress about it. I'm just going to open it up. So we have to go into the Moorish leader's historical message. And, well, before I go there, let me go here. This is the divine warning from by the prophet. It says, there is but one issue for them to be recognized by this government of the earth, and it comes only through the connection of the Moorish divine national movement, which is incorporated in this government and recognized by all other nations of the world. So, for some of us who've come into the Moorish Science Temple, I'll say in the past 30 years, the Moorish Science Temple, divine and national movement, was already recognized. So no longer was it just the Moorish Science Temple of America. It was the Moorish Science Temple of America Divine and National Movement. And a lot of us got stuck right there at Temple, and we didn't make it to the divine and national aspect. But we're going to go a little further because I want to get to the Moorish leader's historical message. Once again, and I'm going to read things that support exactly what I'm saying. The Negro problem is being solved only as it can, and that is by the Moorish National Divine Movement. Now you got to move from a temple mindset to a movement mindset, and then I'm going to tell you exactly what that requires. If you give me just give me your undivided attention just for a moment. Because Morris, we got to get on the same page. Because all these information pimps out here throwing stuff to the public that's not going to even uplift them. And those of us who are faithful, you got to step up. You got to step up. Nobody else can do the job but us. All right. So it says we organized as the Moorish Temple of Science in the year 1925. So that means from 1913 to 1925, the prophet is doing what? He's teaching. He's teaching. He's teaching. Now, historically speaking, he came in 1913 because 1913 was supposed to be our first year of Jubilee. He didn't just pop up and come 1913 because it was just a cool thing to do. 1913 should have been our first 50 years of freedom, actual freedom, actually. And we had not seen that. And then he goes on to say, we were legally incorporated as a civic organization under the laws of the state of Illinois, November 29th, 1926. So the name Moorish Temple of Science was changed to the Moorish Science Temple of America. But when? 1928. Not 1926, but 1928. So we're seeing the prophet is progressively changing. So to even make that just a little clear to you, because I don't think some of us understand what a civic organization is. So I'm just going to touch upon it because, me and AI have conversations. I'll admit it. We do have our conversations. So I'm gonna have to stop sharing this for a minute, just to let you see what a civic organization is. So let me stop sharing this, and I need you to mute your mic, mute your phone, whatever you want. I need you to mute it. And I'm gonna share the screen. And we're going to look at some samples of what civic organizations look like. It says civic organizations are nonprofit, community based groups focused on enhancing local life, fostering social capital, or promoting specific causes. Examples include neighborhood associations, parent teacher associations, community development corporations, service clubs, the Rotaries, the Kiwanis, volunteer teams. Now, is that the Moorish Science Temple? Community Development Corporation, Citizens to Preserve Open Park, Crime Stoppers, Lions Club, Rotary International. Is that the Moorish Science Temple? That's all I'm asking you. Community Emergency Response, League of Women Voters, iCivics, Center for Civic Education. So I'm asking you to, there's more Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, Arts of Citizens Program, Coalition for Comprehensive Immigration Reform. So, is that what the Moorish Science Temple's goal and objective is? Is that the ultimate goal of the objective of the Moorish Science Temple, to be able to function in the community? Or is the goal of the Moorish Science Temple of America Divine and National Movement is to regain our nationhood, regain our birthrights, gain our actual citizenship? What is the more to gain? What is the we need to be clear as to what the Moorish Science Temple is. You know, so that's essential that we have that clear understanding, because I see us having civic classes and all these different things, but are we pushing the prophet's agenda? That's going to be the question of the hour. So I'm going to stop sharing this. And I'm going to stop sharing that. And I'm going to go to the next phase of our lesson. And I ran out of ink today, so I have to use my uh, so as we're looking at this, some of the things we have to understand. The prophet is very progressive. He's not sitting still in this one spot saying, okay, read the temple, we're going to read the Quran. No, he's pursuing some things. He's trying to bring us back into the constitutional fold. And he brought us under, I think, three covenants at least that I can recall. One of the covenants is the Asiatic covenant. We have the divine covenant, or the covenant from the great God Allah, and we also have the covenant of Acts 7. So, when we talk about what our obligations are, what the Moorish Science Temple is about. Now, once the prophet organized as the Moorish Science Temple, There's a distinction that has to be made. And that is the distinction is really in one of our authority where it says the great teachings of Ali here in America. Where do we find the foundation for the great teachings of Ali here in America is within Act 6. Once you outline Act 6 and you outline it and then you put the supporting details in there, you have a whole different concept or perspective of what our aims and objectives are, because you have to do it historically, you have to do it divinely, and you have to do it constitutionally. Now, under Moorish science, we have 5 disciplines. That's divine, national, constitutional, moral, and historical. When the founder passed off the scene, Grand Sheikh John Givensil, Prophet Noble Drew Ali reincarnated, focused on the diet, the dress code. He also taught, um, I would say, history and law. He taught national lessons, but he didn't teach them all over the place. He They were confined to his officers, whereas today we've put everything the prophet brought out in the public domain, as opposed to, as I said earlier, holding it sacred. Everybody who's come through the Moorish Science Temple, everybody writing these books, you putting all that information out, and it's not getting used. I hear you. So if you want to say something, Islam, 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 or were you just saying Islam? You have to unmute yourself. I can't hear you. So, so it's just very important that we understand there are 5 disciplines under Moorish science. If you go to any science, matter of fact, let me do a science. Let's do. Uh, I'm having a problem. You are free to speak, but you're not coming through. So they're called. Okay, so let me go back here. So I'm going to share to make help you understand exactly what I'm saying. I'm going to take you to a science, and I want you to see. I'm going to share it on the screen. Now, this is the science of biology. Biology has 7 sub branches. Look at it: anatomy, botany, taxonomy, zoology, microbiology, mycology, psychology, and parasitology. I know I said that wrong. But I just want you to understand, when the prophet said more is science, he was talking more than religion, which is why we say divine and national and not religious and national. That's what we as Moors have to come into the mindset of. That when the prophet set up Moorish science, he set up disciplines for us to study. And I'll say those disciplines for you once again: divine, national, constitutional, moral, and historical. And so Grand Sheik John Gibbons, the Prophet Noble Drew Ali reincarnated, he specifically dealt with diet. He specifically dealt with the dress code. He tried to keep us as close to natural within the law. Not out, because see, now we like loosey goosey. You know, there are certain things. When I came in the Moore Science Temple, sisters didn't wear makeup. Sisters' clothes weren't form fitting, um, especially when you came in the temple. So there are certain things that I guess we don't We don't feel like it's necessary to deal with. Islam, are you trying to say something? Are you having a problem saying something? Okay, so I'm going to stop sharing this. And we're going to, because the dietary code, uh, like today, a lot of most eat shrimp and crabs. When I was coming in temple, we weren't supposed to be eating those, and it all depends on who you who was your teacher, what you did. But according to the law, not according to what the teacher said, I said that's so wrong. But according to law, we use Leviticus 11th chapter, and I think the other one is Deuteronomy 13th chapter to deal with our dietary code. We all know everybody's not going to be vegan. Everybody's not going to be a vegetarian. Everybody's not going to eat meat. Everybody's not going to eat, So to balance it out, there were particular things we could eat and could not eat. For as far as the ocean, we could eat anything that had fins and scales because the fins and scales help to purify the fish. So, so that's like very, very important. So the prophet moved from a temple to a divine and national movement. And what did he say to let you know that? He not only declared this to us as Moorish Americans, he made that same statement to the citizens. And this is why the Moorish literature is so very, very important, so that you are able to follow the prophet's trend of thought, not my trend of thought, but the prophet's trend of thought. Let's make sure. So once again, let me go back to. Let me stop sharing for a minute, and I have to go back and share. And I prefer to share because you know what? I could make a PowerPoint, but let's see if I can find it. Let's see if this is it. Yeah. So listen, I need us to listen. The prophet is speaking, and I just need you to do what? Listen. I've been having conversations where people try to listen with their mouth instead of their ears. Very irritating. Says, I, the prophet, do hereby believe that this administration of the government being more wisely prepared by more genius citizens that believe in their free national constitution and laws. And through the help of such classes of citizens, I, the prophet, truly believe that my people will find the true and divine way of their forefathers and learn to stop serving cardinal customs and merely ideas of man and that have never done them any good but have always brought them harm. So we're going to go up a little further. And this is all in the divine warning. You should read the divine warning for the nations. Make sure I can find
Islam, sister,
Islam.
you mentioned about the merely ideas of man, and
Mm-hmm.
that will come under Negroism, civil rights,
Mm-hmm.
and things that harm our community, and turning our back on the prophet's teachings, as opposed to recognizing ourselves and demonstrating that we are Moorish Americans and not Negro, black, or colored, And these are some of the mainly ideas of man, because there's no such a Negro, black, or color, because man is not known by color. He's known by the geographical locations from which his forefathers came. And when we connect to that, we begin to understand our history and our culture as Moorish Americans and not Negro, black, or colored. And also, as Millie ideas will even include our entertainment. Some of these songs we listen to have nothing to do with us as Moors, but if anything, they demonize our sisters as opposed to lifting them up.
Mm-hmm.
And these are some of the merely ideas of man, which has no place in a more science temple.
Definitely. That's a definite. Since I have you here, can you share maybe one of the experiences that you experienced while in DC dealing with the
Okay,
pursuing?
well, during our first meeting, we had spoken to the gentleman, William Lewis, and he was a constitutional lawyer. And he asked, how may I help you, gentlemen? And we introduced ourselves as being members of the Moore Science Temple located in Baltimore, Maryland. So he said, well, what brings you here? I said, we're here because there has been a conspiracy against man. And this started right here because if we can recall, the 1320 initially came through the Senate, which is still proper. Generally speaking, it comes to Congress because Congress represents the people. And so, and I also mentioned that the folks that we represent, that there's been a crime against humanity. And as Moorish Americans, we represent humanity. And all around the room, there was pictures of these Europeans upon the wall. And I pointed out to him, I says, and the conspiracy started here in this very headquarters dealing with our need to be representative and free as Moorish Americans. And I presented two documents to him. One was Negro of the Beast, where it mentioned that as a people that we are not Negroes and broke it down. Then I asked him to look at the Constitution, Amendment 14, I mean Section 2,
Mm-hmm.
Paragraph 4, where it speaks about the neither the state nor the federal government. No, I'm just paraphrasing what I have in front of me. Will pay compensation to persons freed from slavery. And he looked up. I asked him to read it out loud. The same with the portion in Negro of the Beast. And he asked me, he said, well, why you want me to read it out loud? Because when we go back to our teacher, and I'm going to be going to tell him that you read it, he may ask, well, how you know he read it? Because you read it out loud. And after he read the section in Amendment 14, which took away our compensation, he closed the Constitution book, looked at the front cover, opened it back up, looked on the back, opened it again, and he said, "These are exact words." He said, "I thought we somewhat took care of this." I said, "No. Amendment 14 takes away your right to be compensated as a person held as slavery in the United States." Oh no. And at one point in time, because they kept moving the brother around, and the last place they moved the brother was like maybe a storage closet, which was very small. I says to him, I says, "You're gonna have to watch your back because they coming to get you." And as I explained to him our purpose, I also asked him, "You have any children?" He said, "Yes." He had two daughters. I said, "Well, this involves them as well." And through our many conversations, he stated, "You go back and tell the prophet I'll do whatever he asks." And not long after that, they got rid of the man. He lost his job, ended up working for unemployment in Washington, D.C., in downtown Washington. So he did his best to help us as best he could. But of course, there are evil elements out here to hold us back and destroy what we were trying to build. Also, we had an opportunity because we met many people there, and this one guy was a detective, and we met him. I forget his name. We met him in the cafeteria. And we was speaking about the policy. And he had on him a two-way radio. I says, "Is that radio off or is it on?" He says, "Well, it's off." I says, "You sure? Because sometimes people can still listen to what you're saying and it still be recording or listen to what's going on." He said, "You know what?" He says, "You're right." So we've had many experiences, and now next time I come online, I look at one of my books with the notes we took and we got in our meetings with this lawyer. His name was Bill Lewis, and he was an intelligent man, a reasonable man, because on at least two occasions we got to talking and brought tears to his eye. So he was concerned about helping us as best he could. But as I was saying, they kept moving him around, and his last place, as far as the office, was a storage closet. So I told him, "You have to watch your back." And the last time we saw this gentleman, we were walking on a meeting chaired by Senator Kennedy, and he had came in the room with two other individuals, one on the east side, and sat down. Then they looked over and saw us with our faces, and not long after that, they immediately got up and escorted him out the room. And that was the last time we saw him. And then found out later on he had lost his job. And with that, I'll say peace.
Peace. And so, because a lot of the young moles don't um, haven't experienced what it was like back in the day when we used to go walk into Washington D.C. walk into any office and just talk to people just face to face because of the way the security system is now. And and I think it's important that these young moles know that people did go to DC, people did petition for what we did, lobby, whatever, however you want to call it, for what is due us as a nation. But of course, inconsistency always gets us. We become very inconsistent, and we have to pick up that consistency once again to demand what is rightfully ours. So of course it's getting near that time that we need to close out, and we will be sharing more real life experiences that why Moors, because some of these young Moors don't know why they can wear a turban today. That sisters lost their job to wear a turban so that you could wear turbans. Y'all just think it happened because it was a fashion statement. No, people made sacrifices so that you could wear that we could wear our turbans and feathers in different places. So we need to hear that from some of the moles because
Just I'd
everybody
like to
was.
say
Go
two
ahead.
more things. In Washington D.C., when you go into them buildings, you got to go through one of those scanners and make sure you don't have no weapons on you. Well, this one particular day, we had came into Washington D.C. and there was three or four brothers. They was from the east. They were Muslims, and when one of the brothers, wait a minute, one of the brothers, tears ran down his eyes, asked us, will we pray with them? We were no more than 10 feet from the police officers, and we made salat. And not one time did they bothered us, allow us to make salat with the brothers, and we went about our business. And another time, we were discussing our situation, and this one gentleman, he says, well, you gotta be patient. I said, patient. And at that time, it was 135 years since emancipation. I said to him, isn't that long enough? Well, no answer. He turned around and walked away. You know, and before the last words, one of the last words of the lawyer, Bill Lewis said to us, he said, I'll say one thing. He said, you've been our true advocates of the Moorish Science Temple. So we did our job. Could we have done it better? Of course. You can always do it better. But one thing about Washington, D.C., if you don't stay on the case and be consistent, they forget about you within a week. So then you find yourself starting all over again, going over the same history as far as what we hear, what we're called to do. With that, I'll say peace.
Peace. So, of course, we're near closing. So, of course, I want to invite you to Divine and National Instruction, Sundays 10:15 to 11:45. Of course, tune in next week for the Moorish Light Continues, where the podcast is a revolution. You can attend our Sunday school classes, 12 to 2, 1055 North Milton Avenue and 2900 West Pressman Street, as well as Holy Day, which is from 8 to 10, again at 1055 North Milton Avenue and 2900 West Pressman Street here in Baltimore. So, in closing, I'd like to again quote the prophet: I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. let me go. I hereby am calling on all true citizens that stand for a national free government and the enforcement of the Constitution to help me in my great missionary work because I need all support from all true American citizens of the United States of America. Help me save my people who have fallen from the constitutional laws of the government. I am depending on your support to get them back to the constitutional fold again, that they will learn to love instead of hate, and will live according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, supporting our free national Constitution of the United States of America. So, next week, we may discuss what is the free national Constitution of America. So today we hopefully you got a better understanding of why the prophet moved from the Moorish Science Temple to the Moorish Science Temple Divine and National Movement because we are supposed to be moving towards nationhood. We are supposed to be moving towards regaining our birthrights. We are supposed to be moving to support the free national constitution of the Republic of the United States. It is our duty, it is our job because the prophet at some point in time teaches that um, citizenship is the key to heaven. A lot of us misinterpret that. But he said when you get true citizenship, you're getting the key to heaven. And all other things will be added unto you. So until we as Moors get on the same page with Prophet Noble Drew Ali and those five disciplines historical, constitutional, divine, national, and moral. So we have to get on the same page and we have to study all disciplines of Moorish science to effectively get this job done. The job is not about integrating, amalgamating, or mixing into. It's about creating our own original economics, our own original identity, birthrights. Everything should more should be about us. So, of course, as you know, we've come very close to the end of the program, and so as we come to the end of the program, I would always like to ask you to embrace the prophet. And I say that first because through the teachings of the prophet, then you are able to embrace Allah. When you embrace Allah, you're also going to be able to embrace divine and national. Once you embrace divine and national, you should be able to embrace your brother or sister. And once you embrace your brother or sister, you should then embrace the mission and let us get this job done. So, as always, we thank you and appreciate you for allowing us to bring to you the Moorish light and love and understanding. And we are for government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And of course, allowing us to once again bring to you the Moorish light and love and understanding. If you have any questions, you can follow my YouTube channel, which is The Science of Moorish Science. Um, if you have a program, if you'd like us to cover something on this particular podcast, all you have to do is write it, send it to us. We'll do the research, prepare the program. And I know I haven't gotten to the point where I've invited guests yet, but I will be getting to that point, and they might become some heated conversations, but don't take it personal, because it's all done in love and understanding. So, of course, my hour is up, and let me stop sharing. See if I got enough time to play my little music here. And we will be out. Peace and love.
Peace.